The holidays are upon us today, of course, being maybe the most important one of all. Got Christmas coming up later this week. We have Hanukkah coming up later this week. It's not about either one of those. See, today is Festivus. And I want to take this opportunity here to wish everybody a very happy Festivus. But of course, it would not be Festivus unless we had the Festivus poll. And so there it is. We have our own Festivus poll here on the stream tonight, as we try to do every year. And as you know, if you know anything about Festivus, there is the airing of grievances. I have but one grievance about Raw tonight. It was fucking boring. That's my grievance for Raw tonight. Raw tonight was a taped show from Boston last week. Taped because they wanted to give the crew the week off for the holidays, which I don't have any issue with that. And they certainly are deserving of getting a week off at the end of the year around the holiday to be with their family, not take bumps. So I have no problem with that. But man, this was just, if I had to define this episode, it was a show that happened. That's how I would describe Raw tonight. It was a show that happened, it existed, it took place, now it's over, and we move on. And nothing really changes, nothing is really impacted as a result of it. It didn't really have anything of any great significance other than Io Sky taking the place of Kairi Sane, moving on to the next round of the tournament to crown a brand new women's Intercontinental champion. Other than that, Seth Rollins hates CM Punk, which we already knew. And he wasn't out there cutting any CM Punk-esque promos tonight on the show. But he made it very clear he doesn't like CM Punk. Kofi Kingston's mom was on the show. Even Kofi Kingston's mom hates his guts. And he was in his hometown tonight. He was in Boston. They were in Boston last week, so they taped 2 shows. They were in Boston. And that was just pretty much it. There wasn't a whole lot else to, I would say, relay to you that would be of any significance, because we're in this weird lame duck period right now regardless. Even if you take the holidays out of the equation, everything is being geared towards January 6th. Everything is building to Raw on Netflix on January 6th. And these are the final weeks of Raw on USA Network. This was the penultimate episode. Next week is it. Next week is for at least the next 10 years? At least a decade. The final Raw on USA Network and the final 2-hour episode of Raw. I think I may have to have a funeral service next week. I may have to put together a speech. I will be in mourning. We got one more 2-hour episode of Raw, and then it's 3 hours on Mondays and 3 hours on Fridays every single week going forward. That I am not looking forward to, but we will talk about this episode tonight as I gaze upon my Festivus poll. I had to get my grievances off my chest here right off the bat, otherwise it wouldn't be Festivus. This is your Monday Night Raw review. It is December 23rd, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Let me first wish every single one of you watching or listening to this within the sound of my voice a very happy holiday week. Whatever holiday you may be celebrating all of them, right? You get the best of both worlds. Whatever it may be, I hope that you have a tremendous week. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has been with me every week, all throughout the year, not just this week. And for all of your tremendous support here in 2024, the biggest year ever for the Sound Off, and I want to top that. I want to do even better than that in 2025, and I can't do that without you. So I hope you will join me as we head into a brand new year. I hope you will hit that subscribe button as well. If you are not already subscribed, go ahead and do that. Hit that like button. Super chats are open. And of course, it being the holiday season, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that 'tis the season to give the gift of membership. You can gift channel memberships to people. If that is something you would like to do, not only does it support the channel, but you'll make somebody a very happy Sound Off fan. So 'tis the season. You can certainly do so if you would like to. But I will be reading your super chats a little bit later on. You'll see them popping up on your screen. Hurts my soul. Alex, thank you, getting us kicked off here with the $25 super chat. Alex is one of those people.
I am the Lord.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Speaking of hurting my soul. Fuck that tree. I'm not sure which is worse. Hey, Matt and Alex both are very active on these streams. I wish both of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Happy everything. Thank you for the love. Also, I should say thank you to everybody who I saw on Friday night at the NYC Arena for the House of Glory show. It was good to see some of you. I did not get to hang out with all of you because, unfortunately, I had a little incident at the show, as you may know, if you watched the show or if you heard about it when I mentioned it on social media. But hopefully I will get to see you the next time. I do apologize for ducking out of the show early as I was incapacitated unexpectedly early in the show by a couple of guys who will have theirs one of these days. But yeah, I'm a little sore. I'm a little beat up. I'm not feeling too good, I'm going to be honest with you, but it's all good because we had a great show nonetheless. And I do want to say thank you to Private Party for coming out and actually showing concern for my well-being. We had them in the house, the AEW Tag Team Champions, on Friday night. A nice surprise to see Private Party back in Queens. We had the Hardys were there. We had the Hardys and Private Party. I heard we're doing a dance at the end of the show. They were having a dance-off at the very end of the show. So anyway, to the people I did get to see, it was good seeing your faces. Hopefully, I will see you in 2025. We're going to be back in New York on January 25th. So while all of you are watching Saturday night's main event, when it comes back, I'll be at the NYC Arena. And I'll be in Chicago on January 17th. We got Ricky Starks coming in. So I'm sure I'll be good to go physically by then. So it's all good. Now, get into this Raw show. Hey, George, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, brother. No, Solo did not take a pile driver. Solo got the shit kicked out of him, but Solo did not take a pile driver. Drew McIntyre, he was out to open the show. Arguably the MVP in this company in 2024, and if not, he's on the short list. But Drew McIntyre has been someone who Monday Night Raw, put it this way, would not have been the show that it was, but for certain people throughout the year. Bronson Reed, for example, he became an MVP on this show. But Drew McIntyre is one of the reasons that Monday Night Raw became a must-see show in a way that it hasn't been in many years. He was a very big part of that. Footage aired from last week's show of Sami Zayn cutting off McIntyre while you could see him in the background. Remember Seth Rollins was being interviewed backstage. He was on his way out of the building. And it looked like McIntyre was kind of sneaking up behind him. He was going to attack him, but Sami Zayn cut him off at the pass, and that did not happen. And then they showed footage of SmackDown Jimmy Uso beating McIntyre up with the crutch that he's been hobbled with because of his broken toe from War Games. So McIntyre said that he'd never been beaten up as much as he was coming out of that Hell in a Cell match that he had with CM Punk. He said that he went home to Scotland because a close family member had passed away. And some of the people in the locker room were probably saying that they didn't know. McIntyre told them that if they cared enough, they would have asked when they noticed that he wasn't around. And he said only one person out of the entire roster, only one person in the entire locker room reached out to him. And he just let it hang there before he moved along. He never told us who that one person was, but very interesting that he would go out of his way to mention that there was, in fact, one person who bothered to reach out to him and then not tell us who it was. The first name that popped in my head, honestly, was Kevin Owens. But that's a line that you don't put in there unless you're going to come back around to it. So I do think that line is going to end up having a lot of significance at some point in the future. He said he was led to believe that they are a happy family in the locker room, but that's all bullshit. He said that his brother John wouldn't stab him in the back to take his spot, but people like the Usos would stab him in the back to take his spot. People like Sami Zayn would stab him in the back to take his spot. McIntyre said the fans turned on him for somebody who told them to go screw themselves. And he said that he's given and given and given over 17 years. It sounds like me. I, too, have given and given and given to all of you for 17 years. I've been doing this podcast. And what do I get in return? Right? I'm starting to understand Drew McIntyre a little bit more now. Says all that, but the fans turned on him. He kept fighting for the fans because deep down he believed they believed in him, but he bled out in the ring at Hell in a Cell, and they instantly forgot about him. He said the real villains in WWE are Roman Reigns and CM Punk. McIntyre said it's pathetic that people like the Usos and Sami Zayn went back to Roman's side as soon as he snapped his fingers. So Sami Zayn had heard enough of this. And Sami made his way out to the ring. Did they throw drain cleaner down my throat? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. We try not to get too ridiculous. But I wouldn't allow that anyway. As the commissioner, one thing I will put my foot down, we will not have drain cleaner poured down people's throats. They pull that shit on me, they're gone. So that didn't happen. Sami Zayn came out, he said, look, he didn't know what happened to Drew McIntyre in Scotland, and he thought that he was recovering from one of the most vicious Hell in a Cell matches in WWE history. Thankfully, he said one of. You can't, even in the world of WWE, where they constantly take creative license and they embellish, everybody knows the history of Undertaker and Mankind. So you can't believably with a straight face ever say that such and such was the most violent, vicious match in Hell in a Cell history, unless you're talking about Mick Foley and The Undertaker. You just can't do it. So Sami said, anyway, that's what everybody backstage thought. That's why you were gone. You were basically recovering. You were healing up from your injuries. He told McIntyre that he's endured his own share of losses. He's been to funerals and all of these different things, or he's missed funerals and birthdays and all these occasions. He said McIntyre might have had 17 years in the business, but Sami Zayn had 22 years. All the sacrifices that McIntyre had, Sami had them too. He put unnecessary stress on his wife and his kid, but that's the life they chose, and they're lucky to be WWE superstars. It wasn't just their story. Every single person in the crowd here tonight and watching from home had these same stories. They still got up every day. They did what they had to do to get through it without pointing the finger at everybody else. And McIntyre had the gall to point his finger at the fans, but they didn't forget about him. They made him. It's like all the people who told CM Punk, I bought your house. Remember that? I bought your house. Once upon a time, Sami said that someone told McIntyre he was the chosen one, and he thought the world revolved around him because of it. Yep. Someone sure did. I remember it. What Jay and Jimmy and Sami did had nothing to do with Drew McIntyre. Sami said McIntyre could continue to have a problem if he wants to with the bloodline, and he'll be happy to be McIntyre's problem tonight. McIntyre said he didn't doubt Sami's sentiment, but Sami had a way of spinning things. And Sami could fly his family every week to the event, but McIntyre didn't have that luxury. And he wondered why Sami would want to fight, considering he's never beaten him before. He also mentioned that he saw Sami's wife and kid in the back and heard that he wasn't 100%. So he suggested leaving with his family. Says out of everybody in the bloodline, Sami was the least of his worries. Sami conceded that McIntyre had his number in the ring and that he wasn't healthy. He hasn't been 100% since Saturday night's main event. He said he could go home and he could try to celebrate and get healthy over the holidays, but I would much rather do this. And he punched McIntyre in the face. Ultimately, Drew put Sami down, set up for a Claymore kick. Jey Uso ran out, and he helped Sami clear McIntyre from the ring. The mic work here was strong. I mean, especially from Sammy when he was talking about all the sacrifices you've made, I've made, and he was going on and on. He was really getting into it. So I thought the mic work was strong. It just felt a bit like rinse, repeat. Very much it felt like a taped show for the holidays. And we were just kind of doing the greatest hits, and we were going back over a lot of the same stuff that we've talked about before. Not a lot of story advancement on this show. I am intrigued, though, by the line that McIntyre had in his promo about there being one person. He didn't mention man or woman. He said one person, management, talent, we don't know, who actually took the time to check up on him. I don't know if they called him. I don't know if they texted him. Maybe they sent an email to his AOL account. I don't know. But they hit him up during his time off. I don't think that line is in there unless it comes back around to have some kind of significance to what McIntyre is doing in 2025. I mentioned the name Kevin Owens a little while ago. I throw that out there because, Owens and McIntyre, they're almost on parallel tracks in many ways. And they're very similar characters at the moment because they're saying things that make sense. But the fans aren't buying it, and the fans are booing them and treating them like heels. And they've done very heelish things. In the way they've attacked people. But a lot of what they're saying makes sense. You apply common sense and logic to it. So that's what I mean. Like, they're almost on parallel tracks, but on different brands. And so I could see, if it gets revealed at some point, Owens being the one guy who, took it upon himself to check up on Drew. Also, they've been very chummy this week on social media. So it may not mean anything, but that's why I bring up Kevin Owens by name. In the back, Pure Fusion Collective approached the Raw general manager, Adam Pearce, to the sound of fake booing. Oh my God, the fake booing tonight. That we've had a bunch of tape shows recently. And I haven't noticed the fake crowd noise the way that I used to. Not that it hasn't been there, but if it was, I didn't notice it. It wasn't as apparent. Maybe they've gotten better at masking it. Not tonight. Oh boy, not tonight. Tonight it was very noticeable in different points in the show. And this was one of those points. Sonya Deville wanted Kairi Sane's vacant spot in the tournament. If you remember the angle last week, Kairi Sane was attacked in the back off camera. Somebody rolled an equipment case onto her, or I think over her arm it was. And she was in the back, crying in the back, so she was hurt. So she was clearly going to be out of this tournament. But they didn't tell us who the replacement was going to be. Pierce said that it was obviously KFC over here that took them out, or took her out. So no, not only are you not going to get her spot, I've already assigned her spot to somebody, and that person is Io Sky. So it's exactly what I said last week. And I hadn't even seen anything as far as spoilers, but, when we did the review last week, I said, who's the most obvious name? Io was literally on the scene trying to help Kairi, and Dakota's already in the tournament. So Io Sky is the one who made the most sense. And that's the person who ultimately got the spot in the tournament. And that led into the final first round match in the tournament to crown the first ever women's Intercontinental champion. This match had Natalya, it had Alba Fyre, and instead of Kairi Sane, who's now out hurt from the angle last week, Io Sky, who was unsuccessful in her bid to become women's world champion on Saturday night's main event. She lost to Liv Morgan fair and square. So, for the time being anyway, she's obviously out of the world title picture, and that has opened up a spot for her now for the brand new secondary title. At one point during the match, Natty, who's really been on social media talking about how she's been here for so long, and she's, so many matches and so many years, and it's her time now. Trying to build it up like maybe they were going to give the nod to Natty. Maybe they would consider giving Natty a run right at this new championship. I have every expectation that at some point Natalya is going to be Intercontinental champion. But that Natty would win the tournament to become the first ever Intercontinental champion? No, that wasn't going to happen. But there was a spot here where she put both women in a double sharpshooter. And on commentary, Joe Tessitore was talking about this like something that he had never seen or that had never been done. Apparently not realizing that we've seen her do that spot before multiple times. So it's not like it's not anything that we haven't seen before. Io wiped everybody out with a dive moments later, and then back in the ring, she finished off Natty with her over the moonsault and pinned her to advance to the next round of this tournament to take on Lyra Valkyria. Once Io Sky was added, once Adam Pearce made it official, I mean, the outcome of this match was clear as day, right? Io was the obvious choice to at least move into the next round. And I think it makes the next round less predictable than it would have been otherwise. Had Kairi Sane won this match, and clearly it was never designed for Kairi to win. I don't think she's really hurt. This was part of the story. They wanted Io in this tournament. But let's just play it out. Let's say Kairi was going to be in the tournament. They weren't going to shoot this angle. If you looked at those three names, Alba, Fyre, Natalya, and Kairi Sane, who do you think is going over? Who do you think is moving on to the next round? But with Io Sky now going into the next round against Lyra, because if it was Lyra and Kairi, Lyra, slam dunk. Now it's a little less predictable. Some people may look at this and think it's totally predictable. Of course, Io's going to win. I don't look at it that way. Yes, Io could absolutely win, but I'm not so sure what they're going to do here. I'm not so sure that the reason they didn't put her in this tournament was to give Lyra a big win, to carry her into the finals. These two women have worked together before. This is going to be the rubber match because they've had two singles matches before. Lyra beat her in a semifinal match in the Queen of the Ring tournament back in May. And then a few weeks later, Io came back on TV and beat her. So they're tied up 1-1. This will be the tiebreaker. Look, Io being in the tournament, if again, power of the pen, right? Who am I putting over? I would want to put over Io, but of course, I also would have Io under consideration to win the Women's Royal Rumble and then challenge Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania for a much bigger championship. That's what I would be doing, right? If let's say Bianca Belair is going to be otherwise occupied by Jade Cargill or whatever's going on with her, and she's not going to be challenging Rhea Ripley, which should absolutely be a WrestleMania match, if not next year at some point, Io would be my next choice. So that's what I would have her doing. Her being in this tournament, I'm sticking with Lyra. I think Lyra beats her next week. I think Lyra and Dakota. Dakota beats Zoe Stark. Because we've got two semifinal round matches next week. We get Lyra and Dakota in the finals, and Lyra is your first ever women's Intercontinental champion. I talked about this in the predictions that I did on the podcast this weekend. You can check them out, episode 893, that I think not only is Lyra going to win, Becky Lynch is going to be back on January 6th, and I think they build to an Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania next year between Becky and Lyra. That's where I think things may be headed. So I'm sticking with Lyra as my prediction. I wouldn't be upset if they wanted to put Io in the finals and have Io go over at the end of this, but I just feel like she should be under consideration for something even bigger than this. And I hope that she is. There was a backstage segment with the Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Liv Morgan, they were arguing like children. They wouldn't even look at each other. They had their backs to each other. They wouldn't even make eye contact with each other. And all the other members were sitting around. Balor and Liv were basically verbally sparring, but it was a situation where Balor would tell McDonough, "Hey, JD, tell Liv that she sucks," and that's not what he said. But so then JD would start to say something, and Liv would just cut him off and say, "Hey, Raquel, tell Finn blah blah blah," right? Like we're in high school. So finally, Dominic had enough of this, and he offered to go to Adam Pearce and get a match with Damian Priest. Balor was offended by this. He said to Dom, "Why, you think you're better than me?" And Dom said, "No, it's nothing like that. I've got a plan." He's the man with the plan. Elsewhere in the back, Sami Zayn thanked Jey Uso for having his back, not just tonight, but every night. Jey wanted payback against Drew McIntyre for what he did to him 3 weeks ago. But Sami said, no. He goes, I want Drew tonight, especially after what I said out there. I need to be able to go out there and back it up. And eventually Jey relented, and he said, "Okay, well, I got him next, though." So we know that match is going to be coming up because he said clear as day he wants to get his revenge on Drew McIntyre. We had Chad Gable against Akira Tozawa. We are back to this again. Gable against Alpha Academy. Now, are they just doing this to kill time until we get to the shows that actually matter? Maybe. But we're back. It's almost like, one step forward, 3 steps back. Gable and Otis, they had an argument outside the ring during the match, and Gable smacked him and then quickly slid back into the ring. And Otis had to be restrained by Maxine from killing this man. Tozawa tried to take advantage with a cradle for a 3 count. He got a 2 count only. Then he tried his huge diving senton. Gable, though, got the knees up and then hit repeated German suplexes, then a power bomb, and finally he applied an ankle lock for the submission win. He would not let go of the hold. So Otis got in the ring to break it up, and Otis was fixing for a fight. He was starting to shake. He was hulking up here. He was doing his own version of a Hulk up. Creed brothers got into the ring. We had a little bit of a standoff, and then ultimately all the members of American Made backed down. I don't think I was thinking back in my head. I don't think that we ever got a singles match. The entire time that they were teasing a match and feuding, did we ever get a singles match like on TV between Chad Gable and Otis? I don't think we did. So, if they want to do one now, because they didn't do one before, okay. But it's just weird that it felt like we were beyond this. And we were kind of moving in opposite directions here. And all of a sudden, we're just right back to this. Unless they're trying to tie up a loose end here and get this match done finally, before Gable and American Made are shifted in this roster shakeup that we're in the middle of right now, and they are ultimately going to move over to SmackDown, which honestly is the best move for them to make. And so if they're going to end up on separate brands, this may be their way of saying, okay, look, we're at the end of the year here. These two, by the way, are going to have a match next week. We're at the end of the year here. We didn't do this previously. We're going to get it out of the way now. Hopefully give Gable a big win finally. Right? Haha, I know, but let's say give Gable a big win because we're shifting this crew over to Friday nights. That's what I hope and what I think may be going on here. In the back, Dominic bumped into the New Day as he was walking down the hallway. Kofi Kingston was happy to see him, figuring that if anybody could relate to what they're going through right now, with all this mega heat they're getting, it's Dominic Mysterio. Dom said, look, I don't like Big E, but what you guys did to him was crazy. Like when you've lost Dom. So he continued walking, and Xavier Woods called him a broke-ass Tom Selleck. Dom stopped at his tracks, and he smirked, and he said, Tom Selleck wishes. And he smiled, and he kept on walking. I wonder how many people watching this only know of Tom Selleck from Blue Bloods and those reverse mortgage commercials, as opposed to what he really should be known for, which is Magnum P.I. Didn't they reboot that show? They reboot everything. They probably rebooted Knight Rider too. But that's what he should be. See, that's what I remember Tom Selleck for. That and those amazing sketches on Conan O'Brien's show with the mustache. I remember once the mustache was on life support. I think he had like little tubes hooked up to the it is a mighty mustache, I will say. After a commercial break, it was Dominic taking on Damian Priest. This is the Judgment Day feud. It just feels like it will never fucking end. Damian Priest continues to feud with the Judgment Day. This will never be over. What do you mean they did? They did what? They rebooted. Knight Rider was rebooted in 2008. It was starring Michael Knight's son. Val Kilmer played Kit. Oh, so I was right. Of course. They always reboot everything because they have no original ideas anymore. So they reboot it, and then it fucking fails, and then they move on to the next reboot. Anyway. Dominic went to ringside once the bell rang. And once he returned to the ring, Priest caught his fist when he went for a punch. Priest roughed him up, put Dominic in a torture rack, and then dropped him. Priest blocked the suicide dive attempt and then dumped Dominic on the announce desk. Priest then ran him into the ring post before tossing him back inside. And he smiled. Before he got back in the ring, Priest stops and he smiles when he looks over and he sees someone in the front row dressed up as Santa Claus. And he grabs Santa and he pulls him over the barricade. Now, you got to admit, Santa Claus, I mean, he is a shady-looking SOB, right? Big, fat, jolly guy in a weird hat, big red suit. You know, hey, little boy, come here. I got gifts for you, all right? It's a little fucking weird. Like, if there's some strange, large man in a red suit who, ends up in my house, he's getting shot on sight. Like, whatever I can get my hands on. He's actually, you know what I have? I have one of those salt guns. It's a weird thing. I tried it once because I had a huge mosquito problem here, and nothing I did could work. Like, I just could not get them. I thought I would get them. I'm sucking them up with like the vacuum hose, and yet he's still flying around. So it's this, like, it looks like a toy. It's like a gun, but you load it up with salt, right? And you got to get real close to it. But man, you fire that thing, and you hear like pop, and you'll knock the mosquito halfway across the room if you nail it just right. Okay. Santa Claus is getting popped in the eye with a salt gun if he tries to break into my house and leave shit on my floor. Okay. I'm just saying. I don't have no chimney, so I don't think I need to worry about this, but it's just a weird thing. Anyway, Santa Claus turned out to be JD McDonough. Their plan had been foiled. Priest found Carlito hiding under the ring. Finn Balor then attacked Priest for the disqualification. 3 minutes into this match. You're acting all surprised here, but you're forgetting that there is a Festivus poll that is sitting right there on screen, okay? You're not blind. I told you. I told you, people, I got issues. You're going to hear about them. The Festivus poll is out tonight for a reason. Don't act surprised. That's right. That's right. Roderick says Santa's about to get these hands. That's right. All 4 members of the Judgment Day now are working over Damian Priest until the War Raiders, the new tag team champions, they run out to make the save. Priest puts Balor down with a kick. Priest then turned McDonough inside out with a clothesline. Eric and Ivar hit their War Machine finish to Dom. And Priest put Balor down with a South of Heaven chokeslam. And then all 3 baby faces celebrated. So even though they were outnumbered 4-3, the Judgment Day still got their asses kicked. But I mean, look at Damian Priest. Look at Eric and look at Ivar, okay? And then look at the Judgment Day, right? Who do you think is going to win that fight? Balor's in great shape. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to pick a fight with Finn Balor. But still, Finn Balor, you got JD McDonough, you got Dom, who do you think is winning this fight? I mean, really. The Judgment Day feels like it's on its last legs. I've pitched ideas for how Balor ends up being excommunicated from the group and Dom could kind of get one over on him. But whether that happens or not, this group is on its last legs. Unless they make major changes soon, it feels like we are in the final throes of this group, and maybe it's for the better. Now, Jackie Robinson sat down over the weekend with Seth Rollins. I guess this was following the Netflix kickoff event last week where Rollins and CM Punk had their little pull apart. Triple H got in between them and he pulled them apart. This is all to preview and build to the big match on January 6th on the big Netflix debut with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. So they did a sit-down interview, and I have to put over Jackie. Jackie's very good at these things. Jackie Redmond is very good at what she does, and she was very good here in this segment as well. So Jackie asked Rollins what the source of his disdain for CM Punk is, right? Where does this, what's the root cause here of your disdain? Rollins said that he's tried to explain it many times, but he feels like he's talking into the wind. Rollins said Punk needed WWE. WWE did not need CM Punk. He said the hypocrisy just eats away at him. He said his match with Punk, it's not going to be a match, because Jackie had mentioned that. I call it a match, but it's not really going to be a match. And Rollins said, no, it's going to be a fight. He said it's the biggest fight in the industry right now, and he needed this match now. He couldn't wait. Couldn't put this match off any longer. It had to happen now. He said he wanted to throw his remote control through his television when he was watching Survivor Series and he saw Roman Reigns put his finger in the air and CM Punk did his stupid go-to-sleep hand gesture. Rollins said the match will be, no pun intended, raw and violent. He said he needed to cut the cancer out of his brain. And then Jackie plugged the big match on the Netflix debut on January 6th. This was fine. I thought it was a fine way to kind of reinforce the reasons that Rollins does not like this man, but this did not add anything new. He did not say anything that he has not already said or covered in previous interviews and previous segments. He just reinforced why he needed this match now, why he does not like this man, and that this is going to be a fight. This is not going to be a wrestling match. This is not about holds. This is not about Phoenix splashes and fancy moves. This is going to be a fight. So, having said that, the one thing I don't want to see out of these two guys when they come out there for their match or their fight, I don't want to be seeing no collar and elbow tie-up. I don't want to be seeing no side headlock takeover. You're going to have a fight? Come out there with your fist tape. Come out there and don't dance around. Come out there and don't dress like a clown. You know, if Seth Rollins is serious about this is going to be a fight, I hate this man, then we shouldn't see him coming out there and dancing, dressing up in his giant clown boots or whatever he normally wears. If you want this to be a fight, treat it like a fight. They should probably just make it a street fight. Just go ahead and make it no disqualification. They're both going to be on the show next week. They're actually previewing it as, they're both going to be under the same roof. Maybe they'll add a stipulation. Maybe next week they'll make it no disqualification. That's what it should be. This should be a street fight between these two. Especially if they're considering doing anything other than, Rollins and Punk at WrestleMania. I mean, again, I cannot imagine that this match next week or in 2 weeks. I cannot imagine that this match in 2 weeks is going to be one and done. Even if they decide to do Roman Reigns against CM Punk at WrestleMania, there's got to be a second match, at least a second match between these two. You do it on Raw, maybe you do another one at the Rumble, you do one at the Elimination Chamber or something. I just can't imagine it's going to be one and done, and that's it, and then they just move on. So maybe they want to save the stipulation for a rematch, and they don't want to do it in the first match. But if this is going to be a fight, they should be brawling all over the place, right? And not getting counted out. Treat it like one. We had The Miz taking on Dexter Lumis of the Wyatt Six. Believe it or not, this was Dexter's. Oh boy!
Jerry Lawler.
Hold on a second. We gotta put a pause on this.
All hail Gunther.
We have got to stop for a moment to acknowledge Fyre Panda. We just dropped a $50 Gunther bomb. He wants to know what happens first: a bloodline match with no interference, or you playing Five Nights at Freddy's. A bloodline match with no interference. Because I have absolutely no plans of playing Five Nights at Freddy's. I didn't see the movie either. I have no idea what that even means. I assume it's a comedy. Beyond that, I don't know anything more. So, that is not something I will be playing. Fyre Panda, thank you very much for the love here this holiday week. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you. What I was going to say is, believe it or not, this was Dexter's first singles match on Raw since February of 2023. And that was a win over Baron Corbin, who isn't even there anymore. Dexter Lumis survived and is still there. Baron Corbin did not make the cut. Nothing happened in this match until AOP marched down to the ring just as Lumis was climbing up to the top rope, and Lumis decided to basically do a trust dive out onto Akam and Razar and wipe them out. But then Karrion Kross came out. He attacked Lumis for the disqualification, the second one in a row here on this show. All the members of the Final Testament got Lumis surrounded in the ring. Lumis is down on his knees. He's looking around, right? He doesn't stand a chance. And he puts his arms in the air. And the lights go out. When they come back on, the other members of the Wyatt Six were all out there, all but Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy was not present tonight, but all the members of the Wyatt Six otherwise were there. They fought the Final Testament out to the floor. Eric Rowan then powerbombed Nikki Cross out of the ring onto all the members of the Final Testament and wiped them all out. And that got a reaction. That powerbomb spot out of the ring got a reaction. Everything else here got shockingly little reaction. And this is on a show where they were piping in noise, okay? No, not a doubt in my mind. They were piping in crowd noise all night long, and they didn't even bother to here. I don't know why. Like, if you're going to pipe in cheers and boos in, like, 80% of the segments on this show, I don't know why you wouldn't pipe in some here, because it was shockingly quiet as these two teams were brawling. I dig what Karrion Kross has been doing, and a lot of the character work and the promo stuff with Miz in the back over the last several weeks. I actually think it's some of the best stuff he's done since he came back to WWE. The crowd was very quiet here for the most part. But they were also, and this is important to remember here, they were also sitting through back-to-back Raw tapings. So the crowd was going to be quiet for a lot of stuff on this show, which is why they were piping in crowd noise. So I think we have to wait until Uncle Howdy returns, and maybe that'll be on January 6th. But whenever it is, we have to wait until Howdy returns on a live show, and then we'll get a better sense of whether or not people are still into this, they're still invested in this. Because the last time we saw Uncle Howdy, and we had that match, I felt like the fans were, pretty well into it. They weren't going crazy or anything, but I just don't think we can really judge much of anything crowd-wise on this show, just because of the circumstances. How it looked and sounded tonight could be completely different than the way it looks and sounds on the show next week. Backstage, Damian Priest thanked the War Raiders for their help earlier. Ivar said that they've known each other for a long time. They haven't always seen eye to eye, but there's always been honor among them, which was a cool little nod to their history, both working for Ring of Honor. I know they worked against each other at least a couple of times. I don't remember there being any great feud, but I know War Machine and Punishment Martinez, I know they shared a ring together at least a few times in Ring of Honor. So that was cool. Eric said that they may not have been friends, but Priest had their back in a big way last week, and they wanted to pay it back to him tonight. Priest said they were at war with the Judgment Day, and he was happy to go to war with them. And so they all smiled, and they're all great friends now. And so this great war with Damian Priest and the Judgment Day will continue. Actually, it's leading to a 6-man tag match on TV next week. That's what it's leading to. That led into something else here. What this led into was another teaser promo. Last week, for those of you who may have missed it, we had this shown on screen. We had a 0. A 0 with a line through it, which I think is the European way. All these Europeans, they have their fancy way of doing things, right? Ring of Honor with a U. Because you got to be different. But no, we had a 0. And it was pretty clear what this was in reference to, right? But it's just one teaser promo. Well, tonight we had this image in this latest video package, flash on screen, a pentagram So let's see here. We have a 0 and we have a pentagram. This is not a tease for the return of Ridge Holland, folks. Okay, this is not Ridge Holland coming back to the main roster. This is not this is not Danhausen getting ready to make his WWE debut, which would be tough since he just popped up in Ring of Honor the other night. If it wasn't clear enough last week, now you know what this is in reference to, and it's only a matter of when. And I think the when is January 6th. Not only that, I have a sense of where I think this may be headed on January 6th, which I'll get to here in a moment. Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett, they showed them at ringside. And the two of them were recapping what happened with the New Day and Big E a few weeks ago. Big New Day anniversary celebration. When Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods interrupted, they did not get a full entrance. They didn't get music. They just sort of appeared. They kind of came out of the crowd, I think, maybe, but there they were. They were right there next to the announcers. And they wondered where the unbiased journalism is, right? Because Joe Tessitore had been editorializing that, you know, what these two guys did to Big E, oh my God. And he said, you're supposed to be an unbiased journalist. You know, you haven't even been here that long. I don't doubt that these two got good heat in the building that night because they've been getting great heat the last few weeks. And they were in Boston, Kofi's hometown. They were going to react to him either way, either positively or negatively, but I'm sure they would have been very vocal. I still couldn't help but notice how fake the piped-in boos sounded here. And I'm sure they were getting good boos, but you will never convince me that what I was hearing here was not canned, piped-in boos, and it almost just fucking ruined this entire segment for me. So anyway, New Day got into the ring. They said that, look, we could have laid out Big E, but we didn't. So they wonder, why are the fans so upset? Why does everybody have such an issue with them? Like, they just don't understand it. Kingston said tonight was meant to be a homecoming for him. It was also meant to be a homecoming for his mother, Elizabeth, who flew 20 hours all the way from Ghana in a middle seat. And they were ruining her experience. And then they showed Kofi's mom in the front row. That's enough to turn him heel right there. The fact that he would have booked his mother on a flight, 20-hour flight in a middle seat. I mean, that'd get heat with me. So Kofi said that she raised him to become the man that he is today. And she didn't deserve to see her son get booed. Woods said that they gave the fans 10 years of their lives. So they left the ring. And they walked over to where Kofi's mom was sitting in the front row. And he offered a hug to his mom. So she got to her feet and she refused to accept the hug. And she's asking him, what's wrong with you? And she decides to just grab her stuff and she begins to walk away. And the fans cheered for Kofi's mom. We got a Kofi's mom chant. And they chanted, Kofi sucks. And she left. This was great. I assume that really was Kofi's mom, and this is not a Mama Benjamin situation from many years ago. So she was great. You know, she played her part perfectly. And I thought that that this was great. The best part about this entire angle so far, and the way they're playing it, is the fact that Kofi and Woods, they are legitimately confused and just bewildered by why the fans and why the locker room and why everybody has such an issue with them. They cannot they do not know why. They are the only people that are completely oblivious. What did we do wrong? We did nothing wrong. And that's how they're playing it. And, which I think is perfect. I think that's pitch perfect, at least at this early stage of this heel turn. I love it. Like what they're doing with Tony Storm right now in AEW. It's one of the few things that AEW is doing right now that I think is just, it's fantastic. I don't know if you saw the vlog, by the way. They posted on the AEW social media pages. Tony Storm's vlog from the Hammerstein Ballroom this past week. It was just great. It's the best. It's just the best thing they're doing right now. And I'm sure a lot of it is her. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of it is probably from her brain and it's her input, and I just think it's great. So I love what they're doing here. We'll see where it's going to lead, because in the next segment that came after this, the New Day, they bumped into Rey Mysterio backstage. And Rey thought about what Kofi said last week, and he apologized for his response. This is when Kofi and Woods were appalled that Rey was blocking their entrance into the locker room, right? You're not allowed in. You're supposed to be the locker room veteran. You're supposed to be the locker room leader. How can you let us be treated this way? And so Rey felt apologetic for all that. He wanted to help them as much as he could, and he said what they did to Big E was foul, and they should start by apologizing. Kingston said they didn't do anything wrong. We have nothing to apologize for. And Woods said that Rey was as bad as everybody else. And Rey said, well, you can't accuse me of not trying to help. And now you guys are on your own. And he told them, get used to hearing New Day sucks. And he chanted New Day sucks as he walked off. Where I think this is headed, I think the Pentagon debut is going to tie into this. I think what's going to happen is, at first I was wondering if there'd be some kind of a match, but I don't even think it's a match. I think that we're going to get a segment on January 6th where the New Day is either about to attack Rey Mysterio or they do attack Rey Mysterio. And that's when we get the debut of Penta. I think Penta comes out to make the save for Rey Mysterio. And what I would like to see, after he makes the save for Rey Mysterio, and maybe it's not on January 6th. Maybe they hold off a little bit. But I want Penta to turn on Rey Mysterio and beat the fuck out of him. Because I think Rey Mysterio would be a great first feud, a great first opponent for Penta. That Penta could beat somebody who's established, somebody who can still go, but somebody who has that credibility with the audience, is still a big name in the company. And for Penta to come in and in his first feud to beat Rey Mysterio, maybe break his arm, what a great way that would be to really introduce Penta to this brand new audience. But that's how I think they're going to do it. If I had to take a guess, there's going to be not a match, but a segment. There'll be, some kind of beatdown or something. And Penta's going to make the save.
It's the amazing Gunther.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
And Penta is going to make the save. Heel Penta. Penta Oscuro. That's what we need. Fyre Panda coming in with another $50 super chat drop. Thank you very much. Oh, amazing. Says Solo, you're old. Can you please tell those who don't know what Exposed Pro Wrestling's greatest secrets is? Merry Christmas. It's a horrible NBC special. I think it was it NBC or Fox? Might have been Fox. No, I think it was NBC. Anyway, it was a terrible network special many years ago, I think in the late 90s. I think Harley Race was actually under a mask, and he was the one who was like giving away. He needed the payday, and he was giving away the secrets, and it was awful. I'd be surprised if it wasn't on YouTube somewhere. It was NBC, right? Yeah, it was NBC. Did they wrestle in Lucha Underground? I'm almost positive that Penta and Rey had a match in Lucha Underground while Rey was there. Yeah, I don't remember offhand, but and I saw every episode of Lucha Underground, but I'm pretty sure they worked together at least once on that show. I just think it's perfect. It's just the perfect person for him to work with. Introducing him as a single. Obviously, he's not coming in as part of a tag team. And you don't have to do it all in one night. If they want to, they certainly could, right? He comes out to make the save, and then boom, he attacks Rey. But even if you want to hold off on it and drag it out for a little bit, that's cool. But I think that's how you introduce Penta to the main roster. The main event was a rematch from Saturday night's main event with Drew McIntyre taking on Sami Zayn. Sami had McIntyre off of his game until McIntyre got a backbreaker onto the apron. He was standing on the steps, and as he came off, he just slammed him down back first. That led to a second commercial break. We weren't even 10 minutes into this match. So Sammy's injured back became the story here. Zayn countered a reverse Alabama slam into a victory roll for 2. Sammy dodged a charge, and McIntyre went shoulder first into the ring post. But he eventually came back with a white noise off the middle rope for 2. McIntyre went for a Claymore kick. Sammy came back with an exploder into the corner. And now Sammy was in the corner, and he was setting up for the haluva kick. And as he came out of the corner, he stopped, he stumbled, he grabbed his back. It's like me getting out of bed. Grabs his back, can't hit the haluva kick, but you know who can hit a kick? Drew McIntyre. And he takes him out with the Claymore, and he pins Sami Zayn yet again to keep his streak intact. Sami Zayn, no matter what he does, he just cannot seem to figure this guy out. When he eventually does, I promise you it was not ever going to be on a taped Raw during Christmas week. When Sami Zayn eventually figures this guy out and he beats Drew McIntyre, it ain't going to be on a taped Raw. McIntyre's hammering away at Sami after the match until Jey Uso runs out for the save. Jey spears McIntyre and sets up for an Uso splash when Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu hit the scene. Tama, I think he shoved Jey off the top rope. The Bloodline got in the ring. They had a brief stare down with McIntyre, who left. And instead, the Bloodline attacked Jey and Sami, and they did cut back to Drew as he was leaving, and he looked back at the ring, and he had a huge smile on his face. And this plays off of a segment from SmackDown last Friday, where McIntyre showed up on SmackDown and confronted the new Bloodline. And they kind of came to an understanding, or teased an understanding, since they both have this mutual desire to take out Roman Reigns. There was this kind of understood little relationship isn't even the right word for it, but an understanding between them. So Jey ended up fighting them all off until the numbers caught up to him. Sami tried to make the save. They beat him up too. Solo Sikoa gave Sami the Samoan spike. Fatu then placed the Ula Fala on Solo, and they all stood tall over the baby faces. Great. Another new Bloodline beatdown. How exciting. This was a very ho-hum. Call me bah humbug. A very ho-hum episode of Raw. If you missed it, you missed absolutely nothing of any great significance other than Io Sky, I guess, advancing in the Women's Intercontinental title tournament. A completely skippable show, as many of these, not all, but as many of these tape shows do tend to be, and that's fine. And I say that's fine just because of the timing of it. You know, it was the holiday show. They taped the show a week in advance. They wanted to give everybody a week off so they could be off the road and at home or with their families Christmas week. I have no issue with that at all. I think that's great. I think they should have at least this week off. They work their asses off and bump around all fucking year. So I don't have an issue with them getting the night off. If that means we get a more boring show in what is already a lame duck period anyway, then it's not going to kill you. But the New Day stuff is still fun. That is still fun. We'll see if they can keep that going for a while. And ultimately, where things end up with Kofi and Woods. Like, what's the direction here? Are they going to take the tag team titles from the War Raiders? Are we waiting for Big E to come back? Big E still says he's not cleared. Is he telling the truth, or are they keeping a secret? Are they building to something at the Royal Rumble? I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go from here. But that is still one of the most fun parts of this entire show every week. The fact is, nothing really matters, though, until we get to January 6th. Everything is building to January 6th on Netflix. Now, they are live next week. It's not another taped show. They're going to be live next week. It is a significant week because it is the final 2-hour episode of Raw, possibly ever. We may never see another 2-hour episode of Raw ever again. And so I'm going to miss this. But it is also the final Raw on USA Network. And it will have CM Punk and Seth Rollins live under one roof. That's how they're building this. Damian Priest and the War Raiders take on Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Carlito. Chad Gable takes on Otis, finally. And the final two semifinal matches, the only two semifinal matches in the Intercontinental Tournament, Io Sky takes on Lyra Valkyria, And we have Dakota Kai taking on Zoe Stark. And that is your Raw lineup for the final USA Raw in Houston, Texas, which I believe was also the site of the very first Raw after 9/11, right? They were at the time, I think it was the Compaq Center in Houston, Texas. And Houston is where they will be next week. What did you think of Raw? Taped from Boston. Oh, these are taped Raw numbers right here. Is this the Dynamite poll? Oh, no, it's the WWE poll. 44% thumbs up for tonight's show, 33% thumbs in the middle, and 22%. Oh, look at that. 22, 33, 44. That's kind of cool. Yeah, this is a boring episode, but you can take it, you can roll it up into a ball, and you can throw it away. Because they were not going to give you much on this episode to begin with. Just think of where we were several years ago when we had an episode of Raw devoted to who ran over Santa Claus. Just think, it could always be worse. Think of some of those holiday shows that we used to get. It could always be worse. Although there was some good rant material in those shows, I will say. Let's get to your super chats here. If you'd like to get them on in, now's the time to do it. We'll hang out here as long as you guys want to keep the conversation going. Backtrack to our first super chat of the night, which came from Prince Vegeta 95, wishing you a very happy holiday. $9.99 drop. On your predictions, you said that Austin Theory would leave WWE. John Cena should squash him before that happens because of that WrestleMania abomination. Also, if Vince was in charge, would he be a world champion by now? Austin Theory? I think he would be, yes. I do. I don't think Vince would have invested the time that he did in putting himself on TV next to this guy if he didn't plan on doing something with him. And he gave him the rub of taking that stunner from Stone Cold at WrestleMania, right? The last time we saw Vince at WrestleMania. So if he was fully still in control, then I don't think he would have wasted all of that, and I think by now he would have been maybe not WWE champion,
but it's Samoa BRO.
You know, you have this brand new world heavyweight title. I think, yeah, we would have seen him with that at least at this point. Venom Kitetsu, Jack Daniels, cheers and Merry Christmas. Cheers and Merry Christmas to you as well, my friend. Jack Daniels is a fine choice. Are you going just straight Jack Daniels, or are you doing, you know, honey variety? Are you doing the apple variety? What are you doing? Alex coming in with a $25 super chat. Brother Solo, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and an incredible holiday to you, your family, and everybody in the group chat. I agree, the show is extremely dull and monotonous. Only great segment was the New Day stuff. Yeah, that seems to be the case every week. The New Day has been stealing the show for much of the past month, I would say, in most of their segments. Alex, thank you, and a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday to you as well. NWO Matt, it's a new day. Yes, it is. New Day did nothing wrong. I don't think you used enough exclamation points in that super chat. Jazz Jackrabbit, Happy Holidays Solo. You are my holiday relief. Relief from the family, huh? Well, I know that feeling. George freaking Seckman with the $7. Have a fantastic Festivus and happy holidays. I'm having a great Festivus, except for this boring ass Raw tonight. But otherwise, it's been a fine day. I'm still healing. Jerome Eugenio, do you think Priest is moving to SmackDown because his feud with the Judgment Day needs to end? I don't know if he's moving, but I agree, it needs to end. If it's not Priest, then Balor should move. I'm not sure which one it's going to be, but I'm almost positive they will end up on separate shows. Jessica Herman, Merry Christmas Solo from Kansas. At least next week, we should get another Punk and Rollins confrontation. Best wrestling podcast around. Jessica, thank you. Merry Christmas to you as well from New York, which is very different from Kansas. But they have wrestling fans in Kansas, just as they have them here in New York. So we at least have that in common. Arabian Night. Listen to your 2025 predictions. Do you have any for Ospreay and MJF? Also, TNA signed a new TV deal in Canada. Could this land them on a big network in the US like Paramount? I don't think so. I think it's a case where either there just hasn't been interest or Anthem is content to keep them on Access because they own Access. I wouldn't be surprised if TNA was their highest rated show on Access. I mean, I don't know what the ratings are for shows on Access TV. I don't even know if they released those. But it wouldn't shock me. Hey, Ian Noel Camelotes coming in with a $32 super chat here on this Festivus. Thank you. Is this Jack in the Cup? I thought that said something different. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I wouldn't do that into a cup. What was I going to say now? I'm completely... Arabian Nights. So, MJF and Ospreay. I think Ospreay will win the AEW World Championship at some point in 2025. It probably should be Texas, All In, July 12, but I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it there or not. But my prediction is that he will be a champion, a world champion in AEW. And
It's
MJF
the amazing Gunther
will not be.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Hey, Emmett coming in with a Gunther bomb of his own. I love you, Solo. I love you too, Emmett. I hope you have a great holiday. Thank you for the super chat. It is very much appreciated. It will go towards my medical bills for the heinous assault that I sustained on Friday night. Yeah, you know, medical bills in this country. Brandon Proctor with the 32 months of channel membership. Almost 3 years. Jacob Fatu voice. I love you so. I love it. 3 months almost as a channel member. That's awesome. I hope you've enjoyed your stay. G. Barry Free with the 491 super chat. Great review once again. Also, do you think Britt is in the doghouse with Tony after saying who cares when Serena Deeb came out after Britt's match? Well, it's kind of easy to draw a straight line from one to the other when that's the last time we saw her on TV, and it looked like they were building to something with her and Serena Deeb, and then they weren't. And I haven't heard anything about an injury. DDP just posted a video. It's a long interview with Britt Baker. It was either at his crib or at her house. I don't know where it was, but because she's had a lot of injury problems, she's been doing DDP yoga. She's in great shape. She did one of those ice bath challenges in the video, but a lot of it was her talking about the injuries that she's dealt with and the lower back injury and stuff. So I don't know. You know, she's healthy. It's not like she's injured to my knowledge. I don't know. She's had some outside projects, right? Isn't she? What television show did I just read that she was going to have a role in? I don't know, but she was clearly going to be wrestling Serena Deeb or feuding with Serena Deeb, and then she just vanished. Make of that what you will. I don't know the answer, but I'm just looking at that and I'm going, you know what? Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm just saying. Cobra Kai, thank you. Yes, I saw she's going to be on an episode, at least one episode of Cobra Kai. But I don't think that's why she hasn't been on TV. Retro KOH Been under the weather for over a week now. Thankful my birthday. Oh no, thankful my baby. I thought it said birthday. Thankfully, my baby is in perfect health. Thankful to have the sound off. Hope everybody has a happy holiday. Well, I hope it stays that way, and I don't know what you have. I had a friend of mine just had influenza A, and knocked him out for a good week. You know, had to stay home, couldn't go to work, couldn't do anything, just knocked him for a loop. It's that time of year, unfortunately. So whatever it is, hopefully it will go away very soon, because it is not fun to be sick, and it's even worse when you're sick for an entire week and you're still not fucking better. You feel like you're never going to be better again.
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up.
Now I feel sick.
Fuck that tree.
Chris Ludek with the $12 super chat. You know, Chris has his own YouTube channel with some pretty good content on there. I'll get to your super chat in a minute. But Retro, feel better, man. Pudgy Walsh. I love that name. With the $12 super chat. Who is Pudgy Walsh in The Sopranos? This is super fan type of question. LOL. Thanks. Been listening since after WrestleMania 24. You are the GOAT. Man, 2008. That's the first full year of the Sound Off. Since I technically started, it was November of 07, but the first full year was 2008. By the way, if you are a channel member, and I know I have to get back to going through the archives and getting the rest of them up, the first 13 episodes I ever did of the show are up right now. If you've never heard the early sound offs or what my voice sounded like back then, I hate even listening back to it. But the first 13 episodes, some of which are from 2008, are up for the Legends tier of channel membership. So check that out. Who is Pudgy Walsh in The Sopranos? I'm sorry to say, I'm kind of embarrassed to say I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that's probably something I should know because I love The Sopranos. But I don't know. Although I could tell you that Fat Dom, man, if Fat Dom would have just been on his way to Metuchen, he wouldn't have gotten that knife to the belly. But Fat Dom, he had a fat mouth and he kept making jokes and he paid the price for it. He should have been on the road to Metuchen to go see his daughter. Fuck JBL and fuck The Miz with a $5 super chat. Why do you like Gunther and MJF so much more than Damian Priest and Adam Cole? How do you know that I like them so much more? I think Damian Priest is good.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa BRO.
I have no issue with Damian Priest. Gunther is just on another level. And MJF also, I look at him as on a different level than most in wrestling right now. Some performers are very good. Some performers are special in a way that just separates them from everybody else. Whether it's in ring, whether it's verbal skills, whether it's just their presentation, their presence, they have a certain charisma about them, they stand out more. You could look at somebody and go, this guy's a star, this woman's a star, this person can make money. It's different for everybody. Gunther and MJF are on a different level than a lot of other people. Little Panda Baby Fire Panda with that first $50 super chat from earlier. Again, I read this one, but I want to say thank you again to Fire Panda very much. That'd be a great question, actually, for the chat. If you are a Sopranos fan, if you had to pick just one character from the show, who is your favorite character? Curious what the different answers are. Because I have an answer, but I want to see what you guys have to say about it first. Double S, did you hear Santa's helper went to see a therapist? He had low elf-esteem. I see I fucked up the joke. He had low elf-esteem. Actually, I think mine was better. That's pretty bad, actually, Double S. That's pretty bad. Especially because I just got done watching the clip from Conan many years ago when he had Norm Macdonald on and he told the moth joke. I just every now and then I end up on that video and I laugh every single time. And so to go from like a classic Norm Macdonald joke to that, it's, you know, you hit the wrong day. There's just no comparison. I just love the story behind the moth joke that he told on that show and how he even came to tell it in the first place. Conan O'Brien had Norm Macdonald on his show once, and he was there to promote whatever it was that he was promoting, but then I guess the guest that was supposed to come on after had canceled. And Conan asked him if he would say an extra 7 minutes because they didn't have another guest. And so Norm agreed to stay, and he took what really was supposed to be like, I mean, a 30-second joke, and he turned it into this like 6 or 7 minute joke that just would never end. But you know, if you know his brand of humor and the way he tells jokes, the way he just drew the story, he was like, you could literally see the gears in his brain going in real time as he's just coming up on the fly with ways to just stretch this joke out. And then in the end, you get what really should be the most obvious payoff, and you're just you still laugh at it because he just tells it in a way that nobody else ever would. One of the greatest jokes I've ever seen told. All right, I'm seeing some good names here for Sopranos favorites, right? Bobby Bacala. I felt bad for Bobby. I felt bad for Bobby and how he went out. That was very sad. Ginny Sack. You know what? I will say this. On a show with absolutely no redeemable characters whatsoever, they were all just very flawed characters. They were, in many cases, just complete pieces of shit. Okay? They were just terrible human beings. But I will say that Johnny Sack, I respected the love that he had for Ginny. The one thing you cannot say is that man did not love his wife. I'll give him that. Jamie Dorsch with the $4 super chat. The mole joke. Oh, that fucking joke. That fucking joke. Almost got him killed. Jamie Dorsch, happy holidays, Solomonster. I don't have Netflix, so I'm counting on you to keep me posted on Raw in 2025. Well, I will do so. I got you covered. We'll be covering the Netflix debut and every show thereafter, so you know I got your back. Yuri, Kofi's mom wants y'all to enjoy your holiday. She seems like a lovely, lovely lady. Devin from NJ. How was the Hog Show? Was it cinema? No, it wasn't cinema. There's no such thing in wrestling. But it was excellent, actually. Myself excluded, and what happened there excluded. Everything. I mean, this was as loud and crazy of a crowd as we have had probably all year. It was packed to the brim in that building. And obviously the Hardys being there had a lot to do with that. It's been 8 years since we had them in House of Glory. But we had it's just a great mix of talent, names that you would know, and then names of, talent that I believe in many cases you will see one day on TV working somewhere, working their way up. You know, we have stories that we tell. It's not just matches for the sake of matches. Yeah, we'll put together like a dream match kind of thing every now and then where we can, but there's actual stories and storylines playing out, and we have cinematic.
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Cinematic type of segments that we do, and people put a lot of hard work into that, and it's just a lot of fun. But that crowd was crazy on Friday, man. I wish it could be like that every single month. It was nuts. It's a great way to end the year. We have got Fire Panda with the other $50 super chat drop. I read this one too, because you're special. I normally don't do that till we get to this portion of the stream, but I already read your message. Fire Panda, thank you. Noel Mulligan. Solomonster, years ago, my local takeaway had WrestleFest, the arcade game. It was so popular, you had to stand in line even before the place opened. I believe it. There were 2 games, arcade games, when I was younger, when I would play arcade games a lot, that either had a line or they had so many people around the arcade you would just watch because you probably weren't going to be able to play. Mortal Kombat 2 was one of them, and WrestleFest was the other. Because it was just so much fun. Like, what's not to love about those games, right? You just smash the controls and just hope you know what you're doing. But like with Mortal Kombat 2, like I could just, and I think I've told this before, there was this one guy who, yeah, he's a little bit older than us, but he was always on that machine. And it was impossible to beat him. And he always had a cigarette, and he would leave the cigarette right on the controls to where it burned like a hole. You could see like the brown circle on the controls from the lit cigarette. But that game was just so much fun. And I remember when we discovered the dipsticks, which I think was on the top of the machine. And then it would give you some like special options when you would like flip the switch or reset the machine. I forgot how it worked, but the joys of arcade gaming back in the day. I do miss that. And then, of course, you had your Cruisin' USA where you could sit down and put your foot on the pedal, and you had the steering wheel. That was always fun, too. Cruisin' USA. I wish they made Cruisin' USA so you could play it on like a emulator or something. But either that one or what was the other one? Was it Daytona USA, one of them? I don't think they ever modded those. Yuri, between the 2 SmackDown... Oh, between the 2. SmackDown 1 or 2 for PS1. SmackDown 2. Havili has been a channel member for 19 months. Says, what is the one match you wanted to happen that didn't happen because of the pandemic and your favorite partner of Riddle? Pete Dunne or Randy Orton? Merry Christmas, Solo. Merry Christmas to you as well, Havili. I'm going to go Randy Orton as the partner, the preferred partner for Riddle. And the match that we were supposed to get during the pandemic and we didn't. I remember being very disappointed we didn't get that first Blood and Guts they were going to do in Newark. It was going to be that March, right when everything shut down. But that's not the one, though. For me, I'm inclined to say Finn Balor and Walter from that NXT Dublin takeover show that we're going to do. I just think in front of that crowd. And, you know, I like Gunther, don't get me wrong, but like Walter was just a different kind of cat. And Walter against Finn Balor back then in Dublin would have been insane. And I was very upset that we didn't get to see that match. Nick Grasso with Charlotte and Becky returning. Also, Bianca in the mix. Io winning the Royal Rumble is highly unlikely, so I think Io has to settle for a consolation prize. So I think it's either Io versus Zoe or Io versus Dakota, and that's when Damage Control ends. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Six Lenses. Where do you rank Hogan's worked punches? I don't think Hogan's worked punches were terrible, but they weren't the best either. Like when I think of best looking worked punch, again, I think of Jerry Lawler. I think of Scott Hall. I think of Jeff Jarrett. I think of Bret Hart. I don't think of Hogan, but they were fine. They didn't look funny to me or anything. Ian Noel, sorry I'm late, Solo. Happy holidays to you and everybody in the chat. After comments the New Day made today to Wade Barrett, I'm itching to see Wade's in-ring return, especially to finally confront Drew. What are your thoughts? Well, we've gotten teases before of something maybe between McIntyre and Barrett. I don't know if it's going to happen. Look, anything can happen. We got Nigel McGuinness back this year, right? He just wrestled a pure title match against Lee Moriarty at Final Battle on Friday night. Like, I think that's cool as shit that we just get Nigel casually coming back into the ring and wrestling, and there he was in the Hammerstein Ballroom again wrestling. Wade Barrett's healthy. Wade Barrett has expressed an interest before in potentially one day having a comeback match, and if it was going to happen, I think Drew McIntyre would be the perfect opponent for him. Whether or not it's going to happen, I don't know. Corey Graves, right, revealed not that long ago that he was medically cleared, but he still hasn't come back to work a match. Just because you're cleared or you want to do it doesn't mean it's going to happen. The story has to make sense. Yuri, who's got the best big boot in the business? Big Bill has a pretty good big boot. All time? If you want to expand it out to all time. Test, yeah, I think Test is up there, man. Test had a great big boot. He would rock you with that shit. Yeah, I may go with that. I may say Test all time. Emmett with the $50 super chat from earlier. Again, Emmett Jr. Tapia. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you and yours. Yuri, there's a coworker at my job who got the Solo Sikoa hair, and I don't think they realize I'm joking when I say I love you Solo at them. Yeah, you're going to get hit with a sexual harassment lawsuit if you keep doing that. Cameron Spencer, has there ever been a match that got bad reviews that you liked? Example of this would be Cole against Lawler at WrestleMania. That match was good to me. Well, you must be the only one, because that match fucking sucked. I'm sure there have been matches like that. Off the top of my head, I don't know of any. A match that I liked and everybody else didn't like. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I don't know offhand what that would be. I'm trying to think back to some of the WrestleManias. I don't know. I gotta think about that. You stumped me. Chris Ludek, happy holidays. Thanks for mentioning my YouTube channel. My buddy was at Hog on Friday and told me you got attacked. If you need backup, I'm a purple belt in BJJ and have a Muay Thai background. Well, I could have used you on Friday. I was attacked by two people. I was outnumbered 2-on-1. That's the only reason. If it was a fair fight, it would have gone down very different. But unfortunately, yes, I was incapacitated for the remainder of the show. As I laid there, of all the times for me to get my ass handed to me, no less, we had just had a cage match. We opened the show with a cage match, and there was blood everywhere. Because they were taking the cage down as I climbed into the cage because they were only first taking the cage down. And I'm in the cage and I'm just looking around and there's broken glass because a bottle got shattered at the very beginning of the match. There's blood and glass all over the place. I'm standing there going, man, am I at a Hog show or am I at a GCW show? What's going on here? You would have thought Nick Gage had just wrestled a match. So I wasn't very happy, not only that I got my ass handed to me, but there I am laying in a pool of blood and glass. Wasn't planning to take a hardcore bump, but there you go. But thank you, Chris. I appreciate the offer. Hopefully I will never have to use you in the future. Power Spine Games, buy, rent, sell. 80s power ballads. Eternal Flame by the Bangles. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship, and Alone by Heart. I love Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship. I'm buying on that all day long. I love Alone too by Heart. So I'm gonna rent on that one and I'll sell on Eternal Flame. Raph, it's up on my Facebook page. If you want to see the video. Otherwise, you can buy the show. The whole show is a great show. It's up on Triller TV. But we are friends on Facebook. I did post a little something there earlier today. It was quite the experience as they wheeled me out. Strapped me to a chair. A wheelchair. They took me out on a wheelchair. And took me to an ambulance in the back. Shoved the camera in my face, too, because I had to make decisions here. We had a show to run. I get taken out here. I'm the commissioner. We have a show to run. So I had to make a decision to let everybody know and cut a promo to let everybody know that this shit was not going to stand. And then I looked down. I got blood all over my hands. Not my blood, thankfully. So I had to go wash my hands off. Well, wash the blood out of my... probably had blood in my hair, too. I couldn't see the back of my head. What a night. The things I do. The things I do when I took this commissioner job. And the abuse that I take. I just don't know. I just don't know. Listen Club. With the $20 super chat. Hey, Solomonster, I'm going through a rough year. I lost my 6-year relationship. It's my first breakup. I lost my job, but your podcasts have helped me get through the days. Thank you for your awesome content. Well, I'm very sorry to hear about the breakup and the job. Honestly, I think the job may be the more important of the two. But both of those things are very shitty. I am hopeful. I don't know what the job was, but I am hopeful for you that things will turn around very quickly in the new year. And, you know, you mentioned this is your first breakup. It may be your first of many. It's totally normal. Everybody goes through it. Believe me, it's no fun. It's no fun. It was no... But hey, believe me, it was no fun for me to the point where I basically said, I'm done with this. I am done. I'm finished. That's the end of this. And that was 7 years ago. But anyway, listen, you're going to be just fine. Trust me. There's going to be other relationships. There's going to be other people that come into your life, and you're going to be just fine. I believe that, and so should you. So thank you for the support. And keep me posted in the new year on how things are going. Yuri, with the $5 super chat. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, Solo. Shout out to the best wrestling podcaster out there. Been listening since TV Tracks. Well, that's old school, man. Tracks. Now we're talking like 2011 to 2013, right? 2014 in that range. A lot of people discovered the show from the old TV Tracks channel when he would put clips up. Was I taken to a local medical facility after the beat? Yes, I was taken to a local medical facility, if you must know. In an ambulance. Had to check me out, take x-rays, blood pressure. Thought my ribs were broken. This is not the end of this. I'm not very happy about this. Bobby Means. Celebrating 10 months of membership, I got a 2-part question for you. It's a simple, what if the Bash at the Beach 2000 incident never happened? And what if Hogan never pinned Jeff Jarrett? Absolutely nothing would have changed. WCW was going down the shitter, regardless of what happened at Bash at the Beach. So I don't really see that having any sort of fundamentally different lasting impact on the wrestling business. Hogan and WCW never would have gotten into this lawsuit. You know, Hogan sued them. That wouldn't have happened, I guess. But beyond that, WCW would have ended up dead. D-E-A-D dead, just like it did. I don't really see making much of a difference either way. Ian, with the 15 bucks. Where are we on the likes, by the way? Are we close to our goal for Be the Booker, or are we not doing a Festivus Be the Booker? Gotta hit that like button. Get us up to 400 likes at least. Ian says, I heard what happened at your recent Hog show. Let me know if you need a bodyguard for Chicago. I may know a guy. Don't need you ending up at a local medical facility. Too late. Happy holidays and take care. Yes, I am hopeful to be in Chicago. I should be healed up enough to travel by then. I'm still a little sore, but this too shall pass. By Chicago, I should be okay. I appreciate the offer. I'm going to have a talk with our security staff and make sure that they do their job next time. Hurts to breathe. Every time I take a breath, I get these sharp pains. It's awful. It's just awful. TK Bangs, yeah, I did hear about that. I heard somebody got burned alive on a train in New York. It's horrible. I don't know if it was a homeless person. I don't know the details, but that was awful. I was on the F train, I think in Coney Island. A woman fell asleep on the train, and somebody on the train lit a match and just set her on fire and just burned her alive. It's just awful. Groovy Goose, what shows do you like on Netflix? My favorites are The Crown and Squid Game. I love Squid Game. I'm looking forward to season 2. I don't know if I'm going to check it out right away, though, because I would like to go back and rewatch season 1. It's been long enough, and I feel like I want to go back and I want to just refresh myself. But I love Squid Game, and there's a show very similar to Squid Game that Netflix recommended to me when I was done with Squid Game called Alice in Borderland. I love Alice in Borderland. Absolutely love that show as well. There's a show called Dark, which I think it's a German show. And that's a great show too. I think it ended up being 3 seasons. So it's an interesting premise too. Look it up. It might be the kind of show that you're interested in, but yeah, Dark. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones from Netflix specifically. I think those are the main ones. Ozark. I guess Ozark is a Netflix show, right? Yeah, I love Ozark. Ozark is fantastic. Ozark is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. With Jason Bateman. And is it Laura Linney? I think it's Laura Linney. Great show. Someone mentioned Hush. I heard about Hush. Is that any good? Wait, Hush is a movie though, right? There was a movie that I saw recently. It was recommended to me. It was a horror movie. It was a very interesting concept. It was a deaf woman who is effectively trapped in her home, and there's this crazed killer who is trying to get to her. And so I thought it was an interesting premise for a movie, but that was a movie, not a TV show. So I'm not sure if what you're referring to is an actual TV show. The Juliet says, Dustin Rhodes signed a new multi-year deal with AEW. I did see that before I went live tonight. It's just funny to me because, you know, he was talking about heading into his final year in wrestling. I think that was like 2 years ago. But, you know, look, if he still feels he can do it, then I don't blame him for getting paid and going out there and doing it. It's tough, man. It's like a drug, right? It's tough to give it up. He's been in it his whole life. He was born into the business. And Dustin can still go. Groovy Goose, let me know if you need my help. I'll make Hog the House of Groovy. I like it. Happy holidays and hope 2025 is a great year. Same to you, my friend. I like that, though. The House of Groovy. I'll have to think about that. Yuri says, in Hog, does any company lending talent ever pull the they can't lose? it's funny. Like I don't even know that it's so much any promotion. It's just sometimes it could be talent who feel that way. Whether or not it's coming directly from the promotion, who knows? But does that sort of thing happen? Yeah. Oh yeah. George Costanza and Be the Booker is a Festivus match. In a Festivus match. Well, Festivus match is not one of the stipulations. Did you see Girl from Nowhere? I did not. What is it about? You'll have to let me know. I always love new like horror movie recommendations though. So if you got them, lay them on me. Let's check out the likes goal, see where we are. We're currently sitting at 405. So we have just breached the goal. A little golf clap for all of you who got us there. A little late, but you got us there all the same. So, as you mull over that question about the horror movie recommendations, let's get to Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now
Oh,
time
there's Santa.
to be
See?
the Booker.
That's exactly how Santa Claus should be treated, with a stone cold stunner. Stone Cold ain't putting up with this Santa Claus crap. No, sir. He has no patience for it. Santa's got to get his fat ass into the gym. That's what he's got to do. Santa walking around looking like he's trying to squeeze 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag. He doesn't even know whether to shit or wind his watch. So says Stone Cold. Tag team Be the Booker. Let's get started here with The Butcher and The Blade. The Butcher and The Blade were a very big part of that pandemic era of shows at Daly's Place, weren't they? They were quite frequently a part of Dynamite back then. The Butcher and The Blade. Gonna take on the East-West connection of Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis. I don't even have a particular reason for you. I just don't think that's a match I would book on one of my shows. So, we try again. We try with the ladies. There's got people who are appalled by this, but I'm sorry. It's not a match that I would book. We could do better. We could do better. All right, Fatal 4-Way. We got ourselves a stipulation. A buzz on Jesse and Adonis. Yes. Yes, you talk about them like they're one of the all-time great tag teams, like top 20. No, they're not. They're a great team. I didn't get to see a lot of them, you know, when I was a young fan. I have since seen matches of theirs. I didn't grow up with them. Anyway, Fatal 4-Way for the women, so let's get cracking here. We got to pick 4 ladies now for this match. You know, there's a women's international 4-Way coming up at Wrestle Dynasty on January 5th. It's going to have Willow Nightingale. It's going to have Athena. It's going to have, I think, Momo Watanabe, I believe, is in there. Who am I missing? Someone from CMLL. I don't know who. But I think that's the match. Anyway, here we go. We have, oh boy, Alert Bliss fan. Alert Bliss fan, he just passed out. We have Evil Alexa. Alexa Bliss. She is going to be in the Fatal 4-Way. We have Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Also in the 4-Way. I believe Ronda has a win over Alexa at SummerSlam. Ronda, Alexa, Jade Cargill, the former TBS champion. Yeah, look at this. Bliss fan is nowhere to be found. I think Bliss fan fell asleep. All that eggnog. He was hitting the egg. Well, look, Bliss fan has been waiting very patiently for the return of Alexa Bliss. And every week that goes by that she doesn't arrive, he just, his drinking just gets that much worse. So Bliss fan has probably already drank himself into a stupor. Was mulling it over in my head. It took me a while, but I finally made my decision. Who the hell is that? It's Lacey Evans. Come on. You got to salute. Bliss fan's not going to be happy at that buzzer, but hey, he's not here, so that's his problem. All right, men's Be the Booker. Gonna get an angry email from Bliss fan at 3 o'clock in the morning when he watches this back and realizes I gave a buzzer to Alexa. I already got an angry email from Bliss fan after my predictions came out. The first email I got when I dared to predict that Alexa would come back as the goddess character and not evil Alexa. My God, the angry email I received. All right, men's Be the Booker, we have Kurt Angle. But not just any Kurt Angle. This is Perk Angle. We got Perk Angle in the main event of Be the Booker. Look at this guy. This guy looks like he hasn't showered in weeks. Right? He's got the scruff. What a look. What an absolute look. Oh my God. Maximum Perk. Perk Angle taking on who? Let's see. Carmelo Hayes. He is him. How about Perk Angle and Carmelo Hayes? Would have been a fucking great match. What a great match that would have been. Oh, Bliss fan is here. What the hell happened to you? Kurt Angle, any version of Kurt Angle against Carmelo Hayes is going to get the bell. I just wish we could have given more bells here, but there were some clunkers there and Be the Booker, though. So we only got one. We got one bell. We're going to have the chance, though, to get more on Christmas because I am going to be live on Christmas night. It's going to be the Christmas Dynamite. Dynamite on 34th Street. It was taped at the Hammerstein Ballroom last night. And so it's a Hammerstein show, so you know the atmosphere should be fun. But I am going to be live, for those of you wondering. I will be live, even though it's a rare taped Dynamite on Christmas. I will be doing a stream, so perhaps we will have a chance to be the Booker again that night. Let's get back to your super chats here, since I put them on pause, so we could do that. Ian Noel, give It's a Wonderful Knife a shot. Oh, is that a real movie? It's a Wonderful Knife? I like the title. Boney, if you need a horror movie recommendation, did you ever see Hell in a Cell 2019? Yes, I did. And boy, you talk about the airing of grievances on Festivus. Festivus came early. Festivus was in October that year. One of the greatest rants in the history of this channel was Hell in a Cell 2019. Creflo Half Dollar. Oh. He changed his name. It's no longer half dollar. He's a full dollar now. Creflo Dollar. Mary Chrysler Solo. My horror recommendations are Leprechaun in the Hood. I remember that. Leprechaun in the Hood. Oh, there's a movie I haven't seen in ages. And Fuji Vice, because the acting is horrific. Yeah, Mr. Fuji was not a great actor. And to be fair, even though I like Don Morocco, he was a terrible fucking actor too. I especially loved it when you could see them looking off screen at what they were supposed to be saying. But see, Fuji Vice is one of those things that was so bad it's great. Sometimes things are just bad, and they're boring, and they have no redeeming value whatsoever. You can't say that about Fuji Vice. TK Banks, Barbarian 2022 horror movie recommendation. I never heard of it. Barbarian. I'll have to check that out. I got to make a list of all these recommendations here. Sheldon, have you seen Girl on the Third Floor? It's a horror movie starring CM Punk. No, I did not. I heard it wasn't that good. Duff's Vids, Merry Christmas Solo. A movie I would recommend is Would You Rather? It is a horror movie starring CM Punk. No, I just read the wrong super chat. I melded the two super chats together. Would You Rather? Okay, that's another one. I have to check that out. I've had people tell me about The Substance as well, which I think has Demi Moore. So that's another one on my list. Apparently that one's like winning awards. I'm going to have to check that one out first. Devin from NJ. Does Solo agree with Austin that the what chants show the weak point in a promo and speeding up or building your promo around it is the way to avoid it? I don't need Austin to tell me that. I've been saying that for years. And the what chant is his absolute worst contribution to the wrestling industry. And that chant needed to die in a fire 20 years ago. Maze the Great, buy or sell, Perk Angle or 96-97 douche Shawn Michaels. Oh boy. You know, I don't know who would have been. Oh boy. I mean, Kurt, the thing with Kurt though, like, I mean, he really was doing stuff back then that it's just sad to look back on it now because he was just so fucked up. But what's amazing about it is that as fucked up as he was, it didn't affect his in-ring work. Like, he just went out there and he performed. I can't say he performed better because Kurt was always Kurt. But the fact that he was able to perform at a level similar to or at the same level that he did when he wasn't fucked up is very impressive. Shawn Michaels, no doubt, was all fucked up on all kinds of shit in 97. More so 97 than 96. And I would take Shawn Michaels 97 and put him up against any of the in-ring greats of all time. Like that year, he was incredible. And no doubt he was all pilled up. Some guys are just built different. Some guys are, I mean, look at Jake. Look at Jake. How fucked up must he have been when he was in his prime doing God knows what? That Jake wasn't the kind of in-ring worker that Shawn Michaels was. He was an in-ring worker of a different kind. He didn't have to do fancy stuff. He didn't have to do high spots. He didn't have to be fast, right? He was slow and methodical, like his promos. He was a different kind of performer, but you know, it didn't affect his performance to the naked eye if you go back and watch Jake back then, right? I mean, it did later on in a lot of those independent shows he would do. I don't know. Some guys can drink or take pills or, you know, whatever it may be. And I don't want to say it enhances their performance to where it makes them better, but the fact they could just go out there and work at all is just a miracle to me. It's just amazing. So that's a tough one though, man. Perk Angle or Shawn. I'm going to go Shawn. I'm going to go 96 douche Shawn Michaels. "2006 Kurt was a god." He's just a machine, man. The guy's a machine. You read up on the way or watch his documentary. the way that he trained himself for the Olympics and the things he put himself through, with a broken neck, no less. The guy is insane, right? But he's just built differently than the average person. There are just some athletes, especially Olympic athletes, who are like that. You know, they're not normal human beings. The average normal person would not be able to do the kind of things that they do to prepare themselves for a game or a competition or whatever. It doesn't have to be the Olympics. He's just built different. I don't know what else to say. Speak no evil in any of the Terrifier movies. I saw the first Terrifier. It was rough. It was rough. I haven't seen the second one. Apparently it's even gorier. I don't even know how that's possible. Same with the third one. I don't know. There's just certain movies that the gore even becomes too much for me. Terrifier is one of those movies. Terrifier, Human Centipede. I can't do it. I just can't do it. It just gets to a point where I don't get any enjoyment out of it. Now it's just grossing me out for the sake of grossing me out. And I don't like that. Any word on coming to Chicago next month? That's the plan. I mean, House of Glory is definitely running Chicago on January 17th. I am tentatively planning on being there, so you will hear my voice if I am. I'll be on the call. But yes, I should be in Chicago on the 17th. Then I'll be back in Chicago again in April, because I have a wedding to go to. I was just in Chicago in September. I'm seeing more of Chicago than I ever have in my entire life. I don't know that I can say that I'm looking forward to Chicago in January, though. That's just brutal. It's bad enough in New York this week. It's like 15 degrees outside. I'm sure in Chicago it's even worse. Going to Chicago in January is, it's going to be rough. Watch The Sadness, a type of zombie movie that is very nihilistic and lives up to its name. Sadness, huh? You know, I have a watch list, and I should be adding some of these to my watch list is what I should be doing. I got a bunch of names on my list. You know a movie I never saw, and I actually I can't believe I've never seen it. Videodrome. The David Cronenberg movie. Never saw it. Don't know how, but never saw Videodrome. But, In a Violent Nature is another one you guys have recommended. I'd like to check that one out. People have mentioned The Boys TV show, which I think is that Max? Is that on Max or Paramount? I think it's Max. Tulsa King. I've heard about Tulsa King. There's an animated series called Arcane that looks kind of interesting. I don't watch any animated series at the moment. I mean, I'm open to it. I've heard good things about Arcane. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. Strange Darling is another movie. I think it came out this year. I've heard good things about Strange Darling. You want a fun kind of old school movie to see? And it's not horror. It's more science fiction. The Andromeda Strain. I always loved that movie. Came out, I think, 1971. But the Andromeda Strain is a favorite of mine if you've never seen it. Hey, Todd Warner, thank you for the 24 months of channel membership. Have you seen American Psycho? Yes, I did. Many years ago, I saw American Psycho. Oh, Boys is Amazon Prime. Okay. Tulsa King is on Paramount. I got them mixed up. Okay. God, I mean, these days you have to have a subscription to fucking 15 different services just to see everything you want to see. Big G, how is it? Big G says, I've seen both seasons of Arcane. Let me know how it is. Godzilla -1. I went to the theater to see that. I'm not even really a Godzilla guy. Arcane was great, but they announced that they are canceling it, so I wouldn't recommend anybody watch it. It is an incomplete story. That's the thing with Netflix. I mean, there's a lot of shows like that. I kind of joked to a friend the other day. I said, boy, you know, Raw got this big 10-year, $5 billion deal, and watch Netflix. It's after season 3 of Raw, they're going to cancel it like they do every other fucking thing. Cleaver is a mix of The Godfather and Saw. That's an interesting combination. Arcane wasn't canceled. The producers decided to only have 2 seasons. That's even worse. If you're telling me the story is incomplete and they made the decision to just not make any more shows, that's just fucking lazy. That can't be true. They have to... There has to be a proper ending to the series if they just chose to end it. Like, what a shit way to treat your viewers. And it's one thing if it gets canceled, but to make the decision yourself, that's not right. Arcane is complete, according to Acme Tunes. So I'm getting conflicting messages here. I'll let you guys work that out amongst yourselves. Does it have a proper ending or not? I'm getting conflicting messages here. Would Netflix have to give WWE a heads up if they were going to cancel the show? I would imagine WWE has things built into the contract to protect themselves from that sort of thing. And if by chance it was going to happen, that they would get a heads up. The thing is, I think they did announce that there is an out clause in the deal after 5 years. So if Netflix wants to, if they feel like it's not working out or they can't afford to pay, who knows what the landscape is going to look like 5 years from now. There is an out clause, I believe, in the contract where they could part ways after 5 years, midway through. So it's not a guarantee that Raw will be on Netflix for the full 10 years. But I mean, it would be shocking, though, if that was to happen. Hey, Darius, thank you for the $4.99. Hear me out. He says Perk Angel. Perk Angel against Perk Will Ospreay versus Douche HBK versus Perk New Japan Prime Kenny up. So we're just basically drugging everybody up here. Is that basically what we're doing? Are you like Dr. Zahorian? You're going to pass out the candy to the boys before they go out to the ring? Are you trying to get them all drugged? What's wrong with you? What are you doing here? Can't have Perk CM Punk. He's straight edge, so that's not going to work. You're a bad influence. You know that? Solo should watch Invincible. Solo is invincible. I don't need to watch it. Netflix is 5 years, option for 10. Okay, so did I get it the other way around? Maybe it's 5 years with an option for 5 more. The point is, after 5 years, Netflix and WWE could very well be done. Justin G says, still think we need an Art the Clown super chat. Did Jericho get knocked off in that third Terrifier movie? Maybe that could be a super chat. We have the learning tree, and then the very next one that pops up is Jericho being killed in Terrifier. I'm just assuming. I haven't seen it. It's not a spoiler. CM Punk can protect you in Chicago, Solomonster. Oh, really? I'm going to trust him to protect me? Really? Oh, yeah, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to do that. He'll probably join them. He'll join in the gang attack. Perkamania. Yeah, Perkamania is running wild. Oh, man. Perk Cody. What would Perk Cody look like? He's always in his suit. He's always so proper. What would Perk Cody Rhodes look like? You know what we need? We need Atlas Security. That's what we need. They don't mess around. Every streaming service comes with ads now. Yeah, if you're one of these people thinking that the ads are going to be better on Netflix, fewer breaks, you're in for a rude awakening. It's going to basically be more or less what it is now. I mean, the ads themselves might be different, but it's not going to be that much different. And look, I'm not even saying I don't want ads during Raw. If Raw's going to be 3 hours every week, more or less, which, by the way, they still haven't confirmed the exact length of the show. You're going to have a 3-hour show. You got to give me some ad breaks. Like, I got to go, fix a snack, or I got to go, relieve myself. Or I don't want to just sit here for 3 hours without a break in between. So I will gladly take some commercials, but just the onslaught of them that you are usually getting on USA Network, it's just, and at like the worst possible times. It's just awful, but that's the way it is. Picture in Picture coming to Netflix. Get ready. That's right. It's true. Picture in Picture, I'm sure, is coming to Netflix. I'm paying for the 4K plan. I better not see one ad. You're going to be sitting through, I think you're going to be sitting through a lot of video packages like we do on Peacock. I have the Peacock tier where I'm not supposed to get any ads, and I get these random video packages for like Bianca Belair, Cody Rhodes, and Rhea Ripley. Everybody else is seeing ads. Perk Cody would be Stardust again, wouldn't he? Yeah, well, I guess he would. Probably. How am I feeling about the last SmackDown of the year being 3 hours? When is the last SmackDown of the year? Is it this week? I don't think it's 3 hours this week. It starts January 3rd. The first SmackDown of the new year is 3 hours. And I fucking hate it. I think asking people to commit to 3 hours every Friday night is ridiculous. It may be better for the roster, but I don't give a shit. Good for them. I think it sucks. That's what I think. So when is NXT going 3 hours? Oh, I'm sure it will at some point. I won't be watching, so I don't really care, but you say that as a joke. I'm sure at some point all of their weekly programming will eventually be 3 hours. Just like all of their big PLEs will eventually be 2 nights. The Rumble is next. I guarantee you the Royal Rumble is next. It's always about expanding. It's always about getting bigger. It's always about quantity. As long as they can make money on it, then they'll get bigger. SmackDown 3 hours might be a trial run. Well, it's possible. I mean, originally the reports were that they were going to go 3 hours for the first 6 months. So from January to June, and then be evaluated and see if they continue. But if they go 3 hours, that's it. Like, they're not going back to 2 hours. I mean, it's not like USA Network doesn't know what they're getting. It was their idea in the first place for Raw to go 3 hours in 2012. SmackDown's on USA. If USA Network can get an extra hour of wrestling on Friday nights, it almost doesn't even matter what numbers the show does. Like, they're going to do much better than almost anything else on the network. They get an extra hour of wrestling, it's only going to lift their average that much higher. If SmackDown's going 3 hours, which it is, it's not going back to 2 hours. Why would USA move it back to 2 hours? They're getting exactly what they want. Take it easy, Justin. I'm going to head out to Wednesday night. Come on back. Unless you're with family. Would you spend time with your family over me, though? Really? You would betray me? You don't want to hang out with family. You're going to see them Christmas Eve. You're going to open the gifts around the tree, and then you're going to get sick of them, and you're going to want to come back to me. That's how it works. So on Wednesday night, I'm going to be here for the Dynamite review, and we'll celebrate Christmas Day together. And then on Friday night for SmackDown as well. I'll be live after that show too. So you got plenty of content. If you missed episode 893 of the podcast, which includes my predictions for 2025 in the wrestling world, and a lot of other news as well, please go ahead and check that out. Hit that like button on the way out. It does help out the video when you do so. And don't forget, 'tis the season for channel memberships. If you ever want to gift memberships this week for other people on the channel, you can do so at any time. Thank you. Be well. Stay safe. And I will see you back here for Dynamite on 34th Street. Ho, ho, ho. Right here on Wednesday night live on the Solomonster Sounds Off channel. Until then, take care, guys. Happy Festivus.